Welcome to Ask Diz. I'm Diz, and this is the show where I do my best to try to give a useful answer to your most pressing running questions. So without any further ado, let's do this. Today's question comes from Virginia, and Virginia asks, do you have any marathon tips for back of the pack runners, those of us running 15-minute pace or slower? All right, Virginia, that's a great question, and I've got a few ideas, a few suggestions that will hopefully help you in preparing for your marathon. The first thing, though, that I want to encourage is less of a tip on how to prepare and more of just a reminder to just ignore the haters that are out there, because there's going to be some, and as great as the running community is, and I really love and stand by the running community. That said, we've got a few haters in our midst once in a while, and every so often you see them come out of the woodwork and start saying things like, you know, if you're running at 15-minute pace, are you really even running, or is that just walking? Kind of give you crap, tell you that you're not fast enough, not good enough somehow. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that if you come across some people that are saying those types of things, don't waste any time, any energy paying them any attention at all. Whatever your pace, there's always people faster. There's always people that are striving to be as fast as you are. So don't worry about anything that anybody is saying about you somehow not being good enough at the pace that you're running. So 15-minute pace, 16, 17, 18, doesn't matter. You do you, and kudos to you, Virginia, for getting ready for this marathon. So I just wanted to put that out there first and foremost. Second thing, kind of along the same lines, but try not to get caught up playing the comparison game, especially on social media. It happens all the time. Happens to people that even, you know, are not worried about comparing themselves, comparing to the Joneses, keeping up with the Joneses. But on social media, we see it all the time. People talking about how fast they are, how terrible this slow run was, you know, when you're still running at 11-minute pace and it was terrible slow, I can't believe, blah, 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 blah. And you might be going, hey, for me, a good day is 14:50 pace. I'd love to run 11-minute pace. You know, just a reminder to you and to everybody that we all have our own paces. We all have what's easy, what's hard, what we can do right now, which is no reflection of what we can possibly be or may strive to be. We are where we are right now. So don't compare yourself too much and get down on the comparisons to what other people are doing. Support them. Hopefully most people in the running community will be supporting you no matter what your pace is, and you know, ignore the haters and don't compare yourself to everybody else. Now for actual more logistical things to keep in mind. If you're training for a marathon and your pace is about 15 minutes or slower, whatever, 15 minutes, 16, 17, 14, 13, whatever, anywhere that's kind of back of the pack, the simple math of the equation is that you're going to be out there for a while, right? Keeping the numbers simple, if you're a 15-minute per mile runner, that means you're running 4 miles an hour, which means that to train for some of the longer distance races, to get some ample time on your feet, you're going to have to be out there for 4 hours, 5 hours plus for some of your longest runs. Now, there's some people that would say that you should never be out there that long. 3.5, maybe 4 hours is the maximum amount of time that you should be out there training for any race. I understand the logic, because the logic is that they're trying to encourage you to avoid too much wear and tear. Don't beat your body up too much, because if you do, man, you know, it's hard. It takes a long time to recover. Which we're going to get to that in a second. But, you know, I get that. I get some of the rationale behind saying don't ever run longer than 3.5 hours. No matter how far that takes you, you'll still build the fitness you need for race day. However, running a marathon is a lot about up here just as much as it is about your legs and your cardio fitness. And for me, personally, it's a tough pill to swallow to think that if I trained out for 3.5 hours, which for somebody, again, at 15-minute per mile pace, you can do the math, that's 12 to 14 miles for your longest run. that's a lot of unknown territory on race day, which can be difficult. That can be it's a daunting task anyway for anybody to run a marathon, but it's definitely even more difficult when your mind is going, God, I've barely run half the distance. Can I keep it up for twice as long? Like that's a tough pill for me to swallow. If you're in that case as well, you're going to want to go a bit farther. You're going to want to get to 4 hours, maybe 5 hours. And even at 5 hours, you've gone 20 miles. That's still another hour and a half that you're potentially going to be out there if 15-minute pace is what you're doing on race day for 26.2 miles. And obviously you can adjust that based on what your pace is, things like that. But just keeping the numbers simple, it's a long time to be on your feet. So because of that, and because you're going to be building up over 16, 18, 20, 24 weeks to get ready for this marathon, and hopefully building up intelligently and backing off your training once in a while to give your body a little bit of break, taking those cutback weeks, but gradually building up. What kind of things should you be working on? What kind of things should you be focusing on in training so that on race day you will be as ready to go as you can possibly be? Well, obviously, if you're going to be out there for that long, for 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours for some of these training runs and ultimately on race day, having a good fueling and hydration plan is vital. Now, if you know me at all, you know that I'm anti one-size-fits-all anything. But and that's especially true when it comes to fueling and nutrition. Me personally, I do most of my runs fasted. I do most of my runs if I do fuel with very little fueling. I kind of live a kind of a primal keto kind of ish diet, so I'm fairly well fat adapted. But whether you are or whether you aren't, at 5 hours, 6 hours, you're going to want some fuel with you while you're out there. Obviously, you're also going to want to stay hydrated. So during the course of your training, when you're building up, you're getting into your 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hour long runs, you need to be practicing different types of fueling options, finding what works best for you. Do you like liquid calories? Do you like more substantial real food type of calories? Drinking water, drinking Gatorade, Tailwind, whatever. The different options, the different fluid options, electrolytes, you want to make sure you're taking in enough of those. And there's no like universal thing I can tell you to say that this is what you need to eat, this is what you should avoid, because everything works differently for everybody. A couple of things that are somewhat universal though that you might want to be aware of. In general, about the most calories that we can consume and utilize while also exerting ourselves physically, it's about between 150 and 200 calories per hour. So you don't want to take in a whole bunch more than that because your body's not going to be able to break them down and process them. And what you may find if you take in too much fuel, even if it's runner-friendly fuel, if you're taking in too much during your runs, it may come back out. Or it could come out the other end too, which is maybe less fun, as the case may be. So, don't want to overeat, but you definitely want to make sure you're fueling as well, whether that's gels, chews, fruit, dried fruit, liquid calories in the form of Gatorade, Tailwind, Powerade, whatever. Going ultra marathon style and going with peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and wraps and things like that maybe you plan your routes around so you can swing back by the house and pick up some good food, not have to carry it with you the whole way. Whatever it is, you definitely want to practice your eating strategy and making sure that you're taking in enough of liquids as well. So make sure you're getting water or something that has some calories in it as you go. Again, I can't tell you exactly how much to take. We're all different. We all have different needs, but be playing with that from the very beginning of your training so that as you keep getting longer and longer in your training, you kind of have a feel for what you're going to need to do to get yourself through on race day. Another thing to keep in mind, if you're going to be out there on some of your training runs for 5, 6+ hours, chafing and the sun can be a bitch if you're out there for very long. I don't know about everybody. I can't speak for you, Virginia, or anybody else that's watching. But for me, if I'm running for a couple hours or less, I pretty much don't have to worry too much about chafing. I don't know. Maybe I'm blessed. Maybe I'm fortunate. Maybe I'm ignorant. I don't know. But I don't chafe too badly for short-ish runs. But if I start getting out into the 2.5, 3 hours, 4 hours type of duration, that's when I start to have some chafing issues. So if you notice that you chafe, you definitely want to obviously apply before you go, but you probably want to get like a little travel size something or another, some type of anti-chafe, whatever works best for you. and bring it with you. Stick it in a pocket, stick it in your vest if you're carrying a hydration vest or hydration pack. Hopefully it has a pocket, you can stick it there, because you may want to reapply at some point, because there's nothing worse than getting the thigh chafe, the arm chafe, whatever chafe, and knowing that you still have an hour to go, hour and a half to go, and not being able to get some relief. So having a little travel size something with you can be a lifesaver. Same thing with the sunscreen. If you're starting before the sun, you might be able to get away with not having too much sunscreen on, because if you're finishing within an hour or two before the sun really gets high, you're probably okay. But if you're starting after the sun comes up and you're going to be out there for 3, 4, 5 hours, even if it's not a hot time of year, if the sun's beating on you for 3, 4, 5, 6 hours, you might get a little lobstery by the time that you finish. So make sure you bring some sunscreen with you. Again, you can apply it before you leave, which is great. But if you're going to be out there that long, you're sweating, you may need to reapply at some point as well. So having a little tube of sunscreen, a little tube of anti-chafe that you can stick in your pack, in your kit, whatever, in your pocket. Bring that stuff with you, because it doesn't take up a lot of space. It's not real heavy, but boy, if you don't have it, that can really, really suck. And then the last kind of tip that I think I have, I probably got a dozen other ones. So if you have further questions, Virginia, certainly let me know. But the last thing that I really want to stress is the need to really prioritize the recovery and taking care of your body beyond just on your runs. So again, if you're going to be out on your feet for a few runs during the week, and then on your long run for 2, 3, 4, 5 hours, 6 hours sometimes as you're building up for your marathon, recovery is vital. So make sure that you're taking care of the little things. Make sure that you're eating well throughout the week, not just the night before your run, because give your body good fuel. It's going to do the repair work that your body needs to stay healthy. Make sure you're getting plenty of sleep, because sleep is so important for recovery and rejuvenation and preventing injuries and your body getting stronger. Make sure you're getting enough sleep. Make sure you're taking care of some stretching, foam rolling, self-massage, some of those recovery boosters as well. Because again, you're asking a lot of your body to be out there for that amount of time to train properly for a marathon. You want to make sure that you're giving your body what it needs in terms of recovery to try to stay healthy, avoid breaking down, and avoiding some of those kind of common running injuries that too many of us know all too well. And the longer you're on your feet for your training runs, that's the more likely that you're going to have some of those repetitive stress injuries, the plantar fasciitis, the IT band issues, runner's knee, shin splints, hopefully not to progress to the level of stress fractures, but that's always a possibility as well. Bursitis, aches and pains, little niggles, all those types of things. They may not be completely preventable, but if you're emphasizing your recovery things as much as possible, eating well, well hydrated, sleeping, self-massage, foam rolling, stretching, those types of things, you're going to decrease the risk of those injuries and hopefully also minimize the severity of any kind of little aches and pains and niggles that come up along the way. So I know that was a lot in there, and hopefully it was useful. Hopefully it was helpful. That's always the goal with these videos, is to actually say something that's helpful, not only to you, Virginia, for asking the question, but anybody else who stumbles upon this and isn't sure and is getting ready for a marathon that kind of identifies as a back of the pack type of runner. That's awesome that you're doing it. Certainly keep us posted. And if there's further questions that you have along the way, Virginia, or anybody else watching this, if you have questions, send them. I always need more questions to answer, so send them to askdiz@dizruns.com, and I'll be happy to throw it in the queue and bring it up eventually, probably sooner rather than later, but get those questions in and we'll get them answered as soon as we can. And if you really want to go the extra step, and if you really want to make sure that your question gets answered, go ahead and take out your phone, record a voice memo of yourself actually asking your question audibly. We'll dub that in and get to hear your own voice. And more importantly, get a break from my voice when it comes to asking your question, and then I'll dive into the answer. You can send that as well to askdiz@dizruns.com. So with that, Virginia, hope that was helpful. Hope that was useful. Good luck in preparing for your marathon. I'm sure you're going to do great. Certainly keep us posted as we go. And until next time, get your questions sent in and I'll get them answered. All right? See you.